1951, some scientist guys in a lab, this is overseas, well, they came up with this little wonder drug, this thalidomide. And messed around with it. By 1954, they had it figured out it's going to be like a tranquilizer, a sedative. And this is pretty common, even in modern medicine. Heck, I think like Viagra was supposed to be a blood pressure medication initially. And then during the little trials, then we got the surprise. And so they remodified it, and all of a sudden it's an ED pill. Anyway, it's pretty common practice. Well, 1957, Germany acquired the rights to thalidomide, called it Grunenthal. They marketed this as a good thing for colds, coughs, nausea, insomnia. Diminished nausea. Might maybe help out with morning sickness. And this is really, really important. The trouble with that is, they never tested it out. Didn't have any clinical trials or anything, because they weren't required to. Around about this time, the UK got the rights to it, and they called it Distol. It's a modern miracle. I mean, that morning sickness just goes away. Don't even worry about it. 25th of December, 1956, the first thalidomide baby was born with no ears. All of a sudden, they had a little problem with pregnancies in the UK, and about 40% of these babies that were born to mothers that used thalidomide died, either during childbirth or early in infancy. And those were the lucky ones, because they perished. Photographs of these babies that were born, that, of course they grow into children and whatnot, they're horrific. They're horrible. Depending on when the mothers took the thalidomide, and at what stage in their pregnancy, even right early on, right around between 20 and 30 days. And they had it figured out after the fact that on, say, the 23rd day, the kid might be born with no ears. And the 24th day, they might be born with their limbs messed up. And a lot of these kids don't have any arms or legs, or their toes are not as they should be. But after about 40 days, everything was fine. If the woman, stumbled across this and she was 42 days into her pregnancy, thing worked like a champ. And you get rid of that morning sickness, man, that's a serious thing. And I'm not saying it ain't. The women didn't know because it wasn't tested. There's such a problem. By 1968, it finally made its way through the UK court system, and they established a one-off payment and a weekly stipend for the rest of your life, because these kids were going to require care for the rest of their lives. I have no problem with modern medicine. It's been a marvel. I mean, from the year 1900, life expectancy was about 50 years. But through the event of modern medicine, antibiotics, insulin, I think, came along in the early 1920s, I believe, or somewhere in that neck of the woods. People could live longer now because of modern medicine. And I guess that's a good thing. But they test it, you understand. It takes on average about 10 years of testing, double-blind, triple-blind trials, and giving people placebos and giving people the actual drug and what did you feel and what, they run this stuff out. But see here, about 2020, we were given the so-called medication. Nobody tested it. It went through the trials of Operation Warp Speed. About a year. It was never tested, you understand. There was an emergency use authorization. We got a problem on our hands, and we need something to fight it right now. So they just kind of skipped over all that testing. To this day, that thing is administered under the emergency use authorization, which just recently got renewed, by the way. Still an emergency somehow. I have no problem with modern medicine when it's properly tested. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. I'll see you next time.